Who said anything like that? Are you listening to me at all?
You're not listening to me. This perspective.
I did. I can quote you. You literally just said, I'm crazy if I believe that black people invented art. No one said anything like that. I want to point out really quickly another word that is like been completely used to oblivion is cringe. It like 95% of the time it literally just means I disagree with your take. So if I disagree with your take, I can say it's cringe.
That's the same thing that fascist and racist means.
I agree on a lot of cases, in a lot of circles.
I would say that racist wasn't like overused until everybody started calling Prime Minister legendary racist, and I'm like, oh, so y'all don't even have brains?
Yeah, that's really what happened. That's where it changed.
It's the same thing that Christian means. I have to ask so many questions to work out what it means
100%.
when somebody says they're a Christian.
I totally agree with you. It's really insane. In the beginning,
it could mean they're American, or it could mean they're.
Sorry, I'm going to have to push back. Like, legendary, right? You don't use that other name, but legendary literally came in here and said that white people have inferior genetics to black people. That's what he said.
Yes, he did. And then he immediately, listen, he did say that, and then he immediately cleared it up before Gambit or any other person spoke for him. The very next thing that came out of his mouth was, "Wait, are y'all saying blonde hair, blue eyes are dominant?" Which clearly means literally no one interjected yet. No other person said a word, and his next response after before anyone like tried to speak for him and clarify for him, his next response was, "Are y'all saying blonde hair, blue eyes are dominant?" Because clearly that's what he was meaning by it. You could see the shock in his eyes.
Also,
I don't remember that. Maybe I should go back and look at it. But that's what got me too. Was that it seemed like the only reason he started to walk it back was because everybody like handed him the fucking
No, American Nacho, you're wrong. It's not literally.
I'll go back and watch that.
Okay, and when you do, I have the VOD. We'll go back and watch it, and I promise you, the very next words out of his mouth before Gambit tried to steelman him, because Gambit was the very first person to steelman him. But Gambit didn't hear that he was saying it underneath another person, but he literally said 3 times. I mean, he literally said the next word. Y'all saying blonde hair, blue eyes are dominant. Then Gambit steelman his argument. Then he said 3 times, blonde hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes. So clearly, we know exactly what the freak he was referring to. Any person who's trying to pretend they didn't understand what was coming out of his mouth is intentionally disingenuous, because then we had literally.
What was the point of him bringing it up, though? Wait, what was the point of him bringing it up?
Of him bringing up whether or not blonde hair, blue eyes are dominant?
Yeah.
No, he was saying that's
I can answer it. So the reason why he did that was because he was literally making the argument that a lot of the reasons behind some of the racism and things like that was for protectionism, because of the belief that people felt that threatened by the idea that they were going extinct and all this other nonsense, and that caused a lot of people to be really racially motivated. That was the argument.
Yes. Yeah,
I can't believe we're going back over this.
Destiny, this is why I would call you out, just like I called Vash out. I feel like with the video that you cut, it was a bit disingenuous, because like his take wasn't just that soundbite. It was far more than that. And a lot of people that saw your video only took that bad take. And I understand, like,
I didn't make that video, but the problem wasn't just that. The problem was
it was saying to fucking Katarana that if she fucked
that's not racist, though. That's not racist.
Dude,
wait, I can agree with you, but these are all great arguments to not use the word racist, because I would consider Fanatiq's view on dating racist. So, but
that's not racist.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But listen, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying all these words are like, it doesn't fucking mean anything.
No,
like,
racism just don't hit the same. No, I get you. It's just racism don't hit the same when it's coming from white people, and I understand why. Because most of the time when white people are using it, like for example, for you to use it for my argument, for you to use it to describe me in this situation is absolutely ridiculous. But I don't think I've ever inappropriately used
if you're talking like black people and like critical theory and shit online using racism, it means even less to me than when white people use it. Okay, like when no name said something about racism, I automatically think that it's absolutely the least racist thing probably that ever happened. Okay,
I know why. You and Vosh did the exact same thing. When you guys start critiquing no names things, you guys take so many things out of context. You're missing literally all of the cultural understanding. Vosh was in the middle of one of his bad takes interpreting no names tweets. I literally like asked him to go and talk to him. He had everyone in his chat spamming him, and he said point blank to them, "I see what you guys are asking. I catch everything. I see the chat, if you keep spamming, I'm going to ban you. Because he doesn't actually want to address anyone who's actually going to go through those tweets with him. He knew exactly what the freak was happening, and he knew I would have brought that nigga to task because I actually had the background to know exactly what the freak she was talking about, specifically when it comes to the music industry and the white racist influence on music. Literally, what was it? Murdoch? I can't remember his name. The nigga that was like the head of Fox and his brother. Rupert Murdoch. There we go. That nigga in the music industry and how big of an influence he had on hip hop. I know the history. I know what they were complaining about when people were talking about white people taking over hip hop and having undue influence. And that's what No Name was getting at in that tweet. And he knew he didn't have that information, and that's why he didn't want to talk about it.
You can't make millions and millions of dollars unless white people consume your music too. Wow, what a tragedy!
It wasn't. No. That's not the problem. I get you. Destiny, you love the distorted. You love the distorted listening there. No one's talking about whether or not you can make $1 million. What we're talking about. Hold on. Let me just finish this because you just distorted listening.
I'll try to be good faith.
Okay, then correct what you just said.
The saddest part of No Name's story is when she was making music on SoundCloud and racist white Ku Klux Klansmen shut up their house like, No Name, if you want to make music, you got to start selling it to the masses. You got to go perform concerts. You can't make it on.
So okay, good. I got it. So you just wanted to double down on your bad take. So what actually happened there? It's not, again, this is a distorted listening that Steven loves to do whenever I'm talking. But I'll go ahead and correct the message here. It's not about whether or not people are complaining about whether white people needing to buy their music. It's how they make their money. It's about the ownership and having undue influence on the music itself. So when you have white people in positions of power in things such as record labels that are literally telling you, either you do the music we want you to do, or we will not release your next album. And unfortunately, unless you release 3 albums with us, because that's what your contract says, you can never make music again, because you can never do music with another label because you're bound by our contract to do 3 albums, and we're going to shelf your album indefinitely, which will never allow you to do music on a professional level again. That's the problem, and white people have had that power to do that on countless occasions. That's what the complaint is about. It has nothing to do about whether or not white people buy your music.
If white people controlled all of music, we would have never made music past country music, okay? We'd still be listening to the fucking Beach
That's not what I said. I'm sorry. Again, you didn't hear me.
Number 2.
That's not even a point.
Okay. Number 2. People that own record labels and shit always have more like control over albums and shit, depending on the size of the artist. That has nothing to do with fucking racism. That just is what it is. Like, are a lot of those people white shit? But there are black-owned record labels as well, right? Like Rockefeller and shit. Or like there are these labels that come out that allow like black artists to do what they want to do as well. But of course, like the amount of freedom or control you're going to have over your shit is probably going to vary with the size you are of an artist. If you don't want that control to be exerted over you by somebody that's running your project, then post it on SoundCloud, post it on fucking Twitter. Like you have access to more music equipment today than you ever had in the history of mankind.
I get you. So you're making an argument for now, but the problem is what No Name was talking about is when hip hop was in its most influential stage, when it had more cultural relevance than it does now, was back earlier in the 90s, and during the 90s, during the 90s is when these things existed. At that point, there was no
younger than me.
No Name wasn't talking about her own music, Destiny. I don't know what tweets you were talking about. She was talking about the influence of white people over hip-hop music in the past, in the 90s. If you don't know the tweet, I understand that, but we're not talking about No Name's music. We understand in 2020 that people can make music independently through SoundCloud. There was no Rock Nation in 96. There was no Rock Nation. I mean, there was no, these other labels didn't exist. The only 3, there were 3 big ones, UMG, Sony, Capitol. Those were the people you were going through at the time, and that's what the problem was, because at that time, when hip hop was a burgeoning type of music, during that time, white people got the influence of that music and very much shifted the sound of it. That happened historically. That's what she was referring to in her tweets, and that's the problem.
I'm talking about her comments where she's literally saying she doesn't want to keep performing music for predominantly white crowds. So she was getting upset that when she would give concerts.
Okay, that's a different comment than what he was talking about. That's not what Vosh was talking about in his tweets, and that wasn't the one I was addressing.
Okay, I don't know what Vosh was talking about. The thing that I thought that was funny was that she complained that she was creating content, but that it was all being consumed by white people. And she got pissed off that every time she gave concerts, it was white people showing up, and she didn't feel like they were adequately challenging themselves, and she didn't like the fact that her audience was majority white. She said she was doing like 2 more concerts and she was done.
Yeah, I think that's her take. I remember Lauryn Hill said something similar, and it was taken dramatically out of context, and I remember she was challenged on that on the Howard Stern show. Yeah, like there is a thing that this is a thing that is very common with hip hop artists back in the day anyway. And I guess there are still some conscious people nowadays who still have this viewpoint where they're making music literally intended for a black audience. We had things like FUBU. FUBU was literally for us by us. That was an entire clothing brand that white people insisted was for them too. And it's like, okay, I get you, but sometimes people do want culturally exclusive things, and I think the idea that some people can't respect that, it's just indicative of their privilege.
That is not true. They don't want culturally exclusive things. They want to make money. Bullshit. Yeah. If you want to make your own exclusive music for your own exclusive group of people, then fucking make a mixtape and give it out to people on the fucking block. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. Don't get online and start posting your shit online and then get mad when you blow up and get popular with fucking white people. It's such a stupid fucking argument.
No, what you just said is the most ridiculous thing of all time. Listen, at the end of the day, you're right. People, a lot of people, no, that was pretty ridiculous. I said one of. I'm going to finish the statement. Anyway, I'm going to address the point. So the point is, can you mute Eagle Eye? The point is, when people want to make music, they do it all the time. And a lot of times people want to expand. It's one thing if you're just telling people, oh, just make music only in your neighborhood. But there is the idea of expansion. Unfortunately, the internet is a free space. Twitter is a free space. So I'm going to finish this point. If my music is literally with the intention of wanting to please African Americans, and I'm making it for primarily a black audience because that's my goal, but I happen to be, courted or have some small, very, very, very short lasting internet beef with a guy named J. Cole, and that happens to blow my presence up dramatically, and then as a result of that, a large amount of his audience, which happens to be super white as well, not predominantly, but a large portion of them are white, if those people then become aware of my music, even though my music was intended for black audiences only, I don't know, it does restrict me a little bit if I'm trying to aim this music at them. You're wrong. And people, it restricts. If my goal is to make music specifically for black audiences, if my goal is to make music specifically for African Americans, and now because of the fact that one of my largest marketing tools, because social media is almost inextricable from music distribution, if that thing has now been co-opted or taken over by Caucasians, then the idea that now my goal has to be to just try to do music without any social media, so that I'm having to do only underground music, it limits my message, it limits my ability to distribute, and that's one of the problems.
No, how does it change the type of music that you make if white people like your music?
No, it doesn't change the type of music you make. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me again. Again, if my goal is the intention of making music specifically for black audiences, this is something that I didn't intend for white people, then that becomes compromised.
I got you. That's a garbage goal, and you should fuck off from art because you don't belong there.
Sure, great. I'm glad that you have that. Good. That can be your simple-minded take. Unfortunately, plenty of people have different goals and different aspirations as artists, and it's crazy that some kind of way. It's crazy. Thank you. It's a crazy demonstration of your privilege, such that you would believe that you are the arbiter of what artists should be able to decide for themselves. That's crazy.
Your mind is rotted to the core if you think this has anything to do with fucking race. This is a way broader conversation about art in general. You can open your eyes. You think fucking black people invent art or music? What kind of a dumb fuck?
Who said anything like that? Are you listening to me at all?
You're not listening to me. This perspective.
I did. I can quote you. You literally just said, I'm crazy if I believe that black people invented art. No one said anything like that.
We're talking about music.
Hold on. You can't scream at me when I'm like 2 words into my sentence. If you're screaming constantly to finish your diatribe.
Because you keep strawmanning.
Okay, stop, okay? Listen, the idea that when you create art, that art can be consumed by anybody that accesses it, this is not an idea that is unique to a particular time period, to a particular race, to a particular people. So if you're going to make art and you're going to distribute it or put it out there to the world, anybody will be able to consume that. It is almost a necessary condition for art, unless you want to go into a fucking cave and draw on the fucking wall and then lock it off from any other human ever going in there, other people are going to enjoy your art. That is literally like a part of the creation of art. It is literally part of the concept of the death of the artist. So if you make art and it gets popular with other people, you can still make that art if you want to or create it how you want to, but you don't have a right to get mad that other people are finding enjoyment in your art. That is an incredibly fucking entitled and ignorant position to take, and it betrays everything that we know about the distribution of and the enjoyment of and the creation of all forms of art.
I'm sorry. That's crazy. No. You're not going to dog pile. 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 I'm going to respond to that. You're not going to dog pile. I'm going to respond to that. I got you. You're going to make the question after I respond. So yeah, it's a really crazy position to me that you would have the idea in your head that some kind of way you have some claim to what exactly is at the heart of art. People make art for very specific reasons all the time. There are plenty of artists who have painted who specifically didn't paint with the intention of it being consumed by a large audience. There were people who painted for Catholic churches back in the day where the intention was literally, this is not going to be consumed by everyone. Mozart literally made a piece. I mean, not Mozart. It was someone else. Someone else made a freaking piece that was considered sacred by the Catholic Church, that Mozart was a person who ended up listening to it by sitting in through a service. And because he had perfect pitch and whatever, and he could completely repeat it. So he ended up writing down the piece and learning it. But it was something that was completely specifically intended by the composer and the consumers to be consumed by the Catholic Church. The idea that there would ever be exclusive art, that's not kind of the idea behind NFTs at this point right now. There have been plenty of people who have done commissioned paintings specifically of people's families. The idea that art has to be something that's universally consumed is just categorically untrue for all of our history. Some people make art for different reasons. She's making art specifically for black audiences, and you're sitting here saying, well, your reasoning for making art is just wrong and untenable. That's stupid. Just freak out of here.
Non-negotiable, then yeah, it's for all people across all time.
I think okay. So the intent here, I think maybe you guys not going too far away from each other. Like, you can have the intent of making it exclusionary, right? Like for an audience, but and Destiny is correctly pointing out that even for your example, okay, there was an artist and Mozart ended up copying him and then able to reproduce that music. Okay, it was meant for an exclusionary audience. That was the intent. That's what you're talking about. But on the other side, you can't control what actually happens when it's out in the real world. So even if like I create something, right, that is for black people, only for black eyes, right, and I put it in a black neighborhood, right, I put it in a ghetto that's fenced off with only black people, it doesn't mean that for all time that art will only be consumed by black people. Right?
No, but that's not the argument that I'm making. But the argument that I'm making at this point is that an artist has the right to be disappointed if the original intention of their art has somehow been subverted to do something else, and that's the problem.
That's only the case if they take the step to ensure that's going to happen. So, for instance, if I wanted to write a very personal letter to a loved one, and then I posted that on my fucking SoundCloud, and I got pissed off that people that weren't my loved one listened to it, I would be a fucking moron. Now, if I handed them a personal letter and I gave them something, and then they went and they posted it online, then yeah, I think I have a lot more right to be upset there. If you are publishing music on the fucking internet, why the fuck would you expect it to be restricted to a certain race of people? Of course, a ton of people are going to download it and enjoy it. Now, if you wanted to make music for a particular black community or black neighborhood and you handed out CDs to black people, whatever, and you're like, yo, don't hand this shit out. Like, this is just for you guys. And you found out that people upload it online, then yeah, sure, you got like maybe a little bit more. I still think it's pretty dumb, but you have more of a right to be upset there. But when you're like posting shit online, you're giving concerts, whatever, like, man, fuck out of here. Like, that shit's going to be consumed by everybody. That's just the consequence of what you're doing. And you know that's going to happen when you do it.
This is what I was going to ask you, because wouldn't making music public for like all audiences like then give you the capital and the means to be able to put on like a show for like, so isn't it kind of like their own fault for like he was pointing out, like putting that what they want to be just for the black community out there for the public instead of like doing a public set and then having like a private set that you're going to do at like I think personal gatherings.
Well, I don't know, because there's a lot of presumptions in this. First off, you have to believe that the person is going to make a substantial amount of money for themselves, such that they can become pretty black exclusive. So if you look at someone like Beyonce, like she made ludicrous amounts of money, and now she started making music that is very, very geared towards specifically black audience. Obviously, her Black is King album, her Lemonade album, and you've seen a complete drastic shift in her in her place in the music industry at this point. She's still able to win Grammys and things like that because obviously her influence can't be discounted. She's literally the most influential artist of this age right now. But the idea that she's making very, very black centric music, it's very obvious, right? And like at this point, you can you can try your best to do it, and I understand the idea that you can't control it, but I can see my main problem here is just with the idea that someone doesn't have a right to be disappointed that at the fact that I guess the majority of their audience is white, when that's the very exact opposite of their intention. It would feel like this music is being misappropriated to the artist. And especially like you can do things where it's like I'm literally putting specifically black messages in my music. I'm like being pretty caustic towards Caucasians through my Twitter, which should like dissuade a lot of them from following me. But some people like are gluttons for punishments. I mean, cuckolds exist. They want you to bang their wives, right? So like, I get the idea that some people really are. Okay, so I can't speak my. This is crazy.
Okay,
maybe it's the point that you want the real
lyrics.
The real ultra hot take is maybe it might actually be, and I know this is gonna be a firecracker, but maybe that coveted black experience you have that is so horrible and so unrelatable to white people, whatever. Maybe actually a lot of people can listen to it and can actually like understand parts of it and can relate to it.
Let me respond. That's a possibility.
I just want to show my appreciation for having a free fight between a black man and a white man that is way better than the one that I saw on Sunday.
Oh, gross! I told you nothing to say, but really, but Destiny, that's true, and like I can understand that. I don't think that's actually the case, and I think that's probably one of the bigger sources of the disappointment. Because you do have people like misappropriating things all the time. Someone was earlier saying, "Oh, you guys don't have a monopoly on oppression." So when I use the phrase, "I'd rather live like a slave than," I'm sorry, "I'd rather live like die like a free man than live as a slave." We can use that phrase too and misappropriate it for a gun conversation. Plenty of times people like don't necessarily identify with the music. There's plenty of times where there's examples where niggas are literally saying absolute nonsense. There's a bunch of white people that don't even actually know the lyrics to a lot of the music they're listening to, and they're just kind of really more going to the energy and the vibe of the music. And I think that's part of the disappointment. A lot of times, like artists put a lot of work, especially into the verbiage and like I said, the culture of the music, and then people start taking these things and not using and not even understanding the culture.
Go do slam poetry.
Yeah, but hold on, wait. Let me try to.
Okay. So why would you
hold on. Let me try to
argue music she wants.
Hold on, wait. Let me try to be the mediator. I think I understand both sides, right? Fanatiq is saying that the artist has the right to be upset with how their art manifests in our social realm, right? What Destiny is saying is, hey, if you're putting music online today, it's almost inevitable that you're going to be disappointed if your goal is to exclude white people. So I think what you're saying, Fanatiq, is, hey, she has her right to be disappointed, which I don't think anybody's disagreeing with really. But I think what's embedded in Destiny's point is that it should be painfully obvious to her that that's going to be what happens if you release music into the ether and white people are the most populous in the place that you're releasing it, right?
Sure,
so I could do concerts in like Nigeria or something. Like, I mean, if you really want, like,
no,
I mean, I don't understand how she's supposed to get.
That's such a bad
you can only be mad at black people for not showing up. Like,
no, that's not the point. It's not about being mad at black people for not showing up. It would be mad at the fact that like white people are consuming it more, because she probably does have black supporters. Lauryn Hill had insane amounts of black supporters. Like the vast majority of her supporters were black. Like that's whatever. Even though her music became insanely popular, literally it sold 22 million copies. I think like a few years ago, 22 million. That's a humongous number. One of the greatest selling albums of all time. But the idea is like her music, her intention was for black people. Same thing happened with D'Angelo, where he was like, yo, I'm not really making, I don't know what y'all talking about this neo soul thing, I'm making black music. And it's great because now at this point, when he came out with his latest album, Black Messiah, it was mostly consumed by black audiences because it's music intended for black people. And sometimes people can get to that place where their music is largely consumed by their audience. I think there was a huge demographic shift in Beyonce's Beyonce's audience. Now, there are still a very significant portion of Caucasians that are listening to her music because she's Beyonce. But her latest project, the numbers are starting to drastically differ because it is largely intended for black people.
Do you have these
until
numbers?
She goes.
I can find them. I don't have them on me, but I could look.
Yeah, I feel like you're just saying that though.
I'm not. So these things have been like noted on God knows how many occasions. So
okay, show us.
I didn't come prepared for that. But if you would like, we could have a follow up conversation, and I can gladly show you all of Beyonce's insane decline in viewership, insane decline in album sales, and all of those things. Once she switched over, once she went independent, and then her next albums all became very black centric. There's no person that would ever disagree. Lemonade was black centric. She literally started wearing she wore Black Panther garb for one of her Super Bowl shows, right? Like since then, she literally did her next album that was largely dropped. I got you. She literally did her next album. She literally did her next album literally in Africa, literally featuring African artists. I'm just gonna mute this guy if he's gonna keep interjecting nonsensically. Literally did African artists. That was where her intentions were. Like there has been an obvious dramatic shift in both the content and the viewership. And if need be, the next time we talk, I can look for that. Look for the sources.
I got one thing to say. Shut up. I got one thing to say, and then I gotta fucking go to bed. All right. Like,
you gonna apologize?
Sorry. For fucking what, GSU?
For lying about me being a homophobe. That's what.
I didn't lie. I demonstrated it.
You're a liar.
Logically. There is not a person in this room.
I don't think you know what logic means.
There is not a person in this room that would say that the statement that being gay,
I would,
engaging in home. Shut the fuck up, GSU.
Gambit and Destiny would, and Nacho. Gambit, Destiny, and Nacho.
I meant there's not a reasonable person in this room that would say that the statement that having homosexual sex is immoral and spiritually harmful to the individual is not a homophobic statement. I don't think anybody would. I think everybody. What?
Crazy. Gambit, Nacho, Destiny would all disagree with you.
So
I disagree.
What? I think
so. Gambit, KOE, Nacho, Destiny. Again, you're on this limb by yourself. You keep on trying to make this ridiculous argument. What? I told you had two people who were probably you had two people who were probably on your other accounts who literally all disagreed with you on this take. The whole chat disagreed with you on this take, and it's crazy. You had again two of your other accounts that were like, "Yeah, Fanatiq is homophobic," but literally everyone disagreed with you. It's crazy. It's an untenable position. Just admit you were wrong.
Destiny, do you agree that the statement that being gay is immoral is a homophobic statement?
I didn't say being gay was immoral. What I said was being gay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Having homosexual sex is an immoral.
That's exactly what I said. Having homosexual sex is a sin, is a sin as noted by the Bible. But naturally, but I clearly made a distinction, and that natural law and natural morality, because it's spiritual morality, they would be very different. You tried it.
Can I use my mod powers? I should use my mod powers.
I wish you would.
Look. That's not what we're
rich quit again.
Yeah,
I know you're super fucking butthurt that I demonstrated.
I'm not. I just think it's funny. I genuinely think it's funny that you keep trying to use that point, and you always bring it up whenever I'm bodying you in a debate. You just literally throw it out there randomly for no reason. That's why it's part of the idiot bingo that I just created.
I'm sorry.
I didn't do that. Someone muted someone. I didn't do that.
All right, listen.
No,
they don't have. They don't both have mod power. Fuck.
Look,
both of you go. Have fun.
Look,
it's Eagle Eye. I told you he always does that partial.
Oh my fucking god!
I pointed it out. I told you that.
Then finish your point. Oh my god! Holy shit!
Just shut the fuck up. Look,
I unmuted you, Fanatiq, dipshit.
I don't keep bringing it up. You brought it up loads of times. Like every time I fucking spoke, I'm trying to talk about something completely different. Okay, I was about to say, right? I can understand the way an artist would be like pissed off if the meaning that they were trying to convey through their art was not picked up by the audience, right? Be that because the audience is of a demographic that literally cannot understand the messages that they're trying to put out, or whatever, right? I can understand that point, but like, I can't think of if I was targeting art, and obviously the trans and black experiences are different. Really quick. But if I think the idea of what morality is here is
really matters, because there's a very obvious difference, and I think this distinction makes all the sense right here. When we're talking about natural morality and we're talking about spiritual morality, they're two very distinct things. And so when I'm saying something is spiritually immoral, that means according to a religion, religiously immoral. To any person who doesn't practice that religion, it doesn't apply to them. And that's the very, very big difference there. So when you want to look at like a non-Christian doing whatever the freak they want to do, if there's something germane to my freaking Bible, then it makes all the sense in the world. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm making a very big difference between those two things. Like when someone says the word, oh, they just think homosexual sex is immoral. It's like, no, because literally, I would never advocate against this, like politically. I would never argue against this legally. I don't think that there's any problems with it. It's literally specifically a conversation about spiritual. Someone asked me, what do I think about, does the Bible say this? And yes, I believe that the Bible says this. I don't think that the Bible has any intention of legislating anything. I don't think the Bible has any intention of like controlling the lives of people. Everything there is optional. You make a choice whether you want to be a Christian or not. And that's the very big difference.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand, right? Like the whole point of me saying that, right, was not.
No.
Oh, if you disagree with me, you're fucking.
So Rochambeau, do you think that I think fornication is immoral? Do I think fornication is immoral? From a spiritual sense, I would say yes, but clearly I know that you know that I don't have a problem with people with two consenting adults committing fornication, right?
The only thing is,
yeah, I thought so. Yeah, you know the difference.
Or even to be half Mimi, right? My jokes about like private language, or not my jokes, my position about like private versus public speech, right? Like that could arguably be like a type of performance you don't want to share with people. But the difference is,
you shared it.
No, I
didn't. Shared it, man.
You
shared how you privately do.
Absolutely.
As soon as this passes, we're about to get out of here anyway, and then we'll answer all
You're saying you told the world.
Okay, hold on. I don't know if you're honoring, but there's a difference between saying you do something versus showing you that I do something. So for
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, but that's not bad. So like right now, like I'm telling you, okay, that I have sex with my significant other. There's a huge difference between telling you and showing you a video of it. You acknowledge that, right?
Wait, I wasn't saying that those things aren't different. I'm not making that.
So saying that I say like some like raunchy jokes in private is different than repeating those jokes publicly. I'm just making sure that point is understood, right? Yeah. But anyway, I'm just saying that like I can understand.
Hold on, wait though. Oh, if you do share that, I'll create like a page somewhere and like sell it. So if you do share that type of content,
okay, I'll let you know. Okay, I'm just saying like typically, if people want to make those like private types of performances, then they would do something to limit the amount of people that can see it. You wouldn't do it in a public open space or distribute it digitally, and then like get like surprise Pikachu face when other people are enjoying it.
But Destiny, the only problem I have with that is the idea that, like, listen, as a person is going to grow, again, it's impossible. It's impossible to really.
Wrong.
What I'm saying is, it's impossible.
You're just wrong.
It's impossible. I'm wrong about what? What was I going to say?
That as a person grows, it's impossible.
That's not what I was going to say at all. Like, no, that wasn't it.
I didn't even finish to say what you were going to say.
It had nothing to do with as a person grows. That wasn't it.
That was literally what you just was saying.
No, I was saying it's impossible. No, because I literally was correcting it. What I was going to say was it's impossible to grow. It's impossible to grow significantly. Because I misspoke the first time. That's why I was saying, let me finish. Thank you. I got you. You know what? I'll tell you what. These conversations will go really simple or like really smooth, really quickly. If you would just stop interjecting all the time, like you do it every. You do it. Okay, I got you. I just got you. Moving forward, let's make sure that happens. All right. I'll point it out when you do it again because I know you can't help it. Anyway, if a person wants to grow significantly within their field, right, they're going to need to use social media. It's almost impossible in today's day and age to have a significant growth without the use of social media. So because of that, every time, and it's almost impossible to have significant distribution in the modern age with the way people consume music without distribution. Lots of cars don't even have CD players anymore. So if you wanted to like actually sell a CD like you did back in the day, that's not a real thing anymore. So a lot of times you're going to need to use social media. You're going to need to use digital distribution. So this is like literally something that's unavoidable. But I can understand the idea is if you are using these things that people will start using, other people are going to consume your stuff. I just don't get why it's such a hard thing for someone to say, I'm disappointed. Like, even if it's something that you can't necessarily control, you can still be disappointed thinking this music is literally intended for Black audience. Some of my image has always been somewhat, there's been a wall between me and Caucasians in the way that I've communicated myself. A lot of white people think I'm racist and all sorts of other nonsense. So I would assume that most of my music would be consumed by these other people. But instead, it's not happening. So that's where the disappointment comes.
I would be disappointed in the misinterpretation of what I'm trying to convey, not in who is listening to it.
Vivian, I wasn't talking to you. It's okay.
Like, I mean, I don't know what action we're supposed to take over an artist's mild feeling of unease.
That's what's crazy about it. Why is it
a big thing?
Right. That was what was blowing my mind. I don't understand why it's such a weird thing for everyone to be so getting their panties in a bunch over someone saying like, "Yo, I'm disappointed in the fact that like this is all white."
Destiny is my box.
I think it's because you're putting it out there. I guess.
Wait, Wait,
you're making it public.
Wait, are you kink shaming Destiny if he's wearing pants?
No, I'm just kinking them. I'm kink shaming. I'm not. It's not even kink shaming. I'm just saying they shouldn't be in a bundle over this.
Well, then it's the same thing though.
Well,
why are people going to get in a bundle over like, hey, I put out a song and some white people listen to it? Like, is that really that fucking important?
It depends on what your goal is as an artist. If your goal specifically is to send a specific message that you're hoping black audiences will consume so that it will motivate them in a specific way and educate them in a specific way, then I think the idea that now you see that it's being misappropriated and misused, that it would be somewhat harmful.
I mean, or you're just not doing a good job of
misappropriated, misused.
Getting the right message.
I was about to say, just look at the guy who made Pepe the Frog. His art is not being used in the way he originally intended it. Whether he likes it or not, it's now just.
We're never going to give you up. You think that fucking Rick Astley wanted his shit to be used in the way that it is?
I would say possibly.
I swear to God, I'll do it. Fanatiq.
Hey, that's
shut the fuck up, Fanatiq. Hey, does white people listening to the music take away the possibility of black people to get the message of what you were trying to put out to them?
No.
Then what the fuck is the problem?
I'm sorry if you haven't been paying attention to this entire conversation, but we've voiced it several times. The problem is, if the predominant listeners of our music is white, then it feels like now I'm making this large music with this intentional effort that now the intended recipients aren't getting it. So now at this problem, my whole effort is wasted. If my effort is to, if my effort is to do one specific thing, my goal is to make this music for one specific person. For example, if I decide I'm doing this specific artwork or I'm composing this specific song for the person I'm in love with, and then all of a sudden she doesn't get it, but instead a whole bunch of other people get it, then I would feel that's a waste.
And wait, I think I
don't care, Vivian. Be quiet. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you.
Hold on. Let me just have a minute with fucking Fanatiq. GSU, chill. No. Okay, if you're gonna make it for that one single person, you send it to that one motherfucking single person. Right now. Okay. I got you. Hold on.
Okay. Hey, shut up and let her finish. Shut up and let her finish.
Eagle, I'm gonna mute you. I'm just gonna mute you. That's fine.
I'm better than you at it.
Go ahead.
But so when you put it on the internet, you understand that the internet is not a single fucking person.
Sure.
But you just said a second ago that white people listening to it doesn't stop the ability for black people to get your message of what you put across.
For sure.
And then you contradicted yourself. So I
didn't.
don't really know.
No, I didn't. So let me
missing it.
Yeah, you're very missing. It's okay. So I can explain it. Look. So again, no. Here, I'm explaining. I'm gonna explain one more time so you can hear it. Okay? Because you're misunderstanding. So it's this, right? The analogy I gave you was that it was intended for one person. But in reality, her music is intended for black people as a whole. If she had the power to be able to snap her fingers and make literally every black person on the planet hear her music, she would do that. And then all black people would be able to consume it. But there's no way to disseminate your music realistically as an individual without super duper ridiculous amounts of wealth to all black people. So the only way you can do that with the majority of black people being able to have access to it is to put this music online. And so you can do that and hoping that you're cultivating a relationship with largely black audiences. If you discover through your shows that the vast majority of your audiences are white, then you're like, well, my effort was really to make music for black people, for black people to get a specific message, and they're not the ones getting it, or other people are consuming it more, whatever, because of demographics or whatever. Then at that point, then I can decide I'm disappointed. My efforts, my goal is not being met, so I'm just gonna go ahead and stop. I'm gonna back off and just not do it anymore. And I don't understand why that's a problem.
But that could mean, oh my God, that could mean a few things. That could mean either, okay, cool, white people listening to it, and maybe your demographic of black people not reaching enough black people. Either your black message was shit, or maybe your just music is shit.
Sure, it could be both of those. And if maybe your black message was boo boo, then that would make sense why the black people weren't listening to it. I can see being disappointed over that. If my message, or if any of those things, maybe it's a mistake in the way that I'm making it. Maybe it's a mistake. All of those things are all potentials, and all of those are reasons why she could easily be disappointed and why she could stop doing music. I don't understand. Did you think that was a gotcha?
Fanatiq is steel manning someone else's position too, though. Just
for sure, but this isn't an unfounded thing.
Who hopped in here.
I got you. This isn't an unfounded thing.
No, wait. I think what's being missed is you all think that she's disappointed in the white people, and I don't think that's where she is. All y'all seem to be trying to jump in to defend.
That is what she did say. She said that she was disappointed that white people were listening to her music and they
but that doesn't mean she's disappointed in the white people. She's disappointed that her
fucking sentence. No, she said that she was disappointed that I think she said white liberals would listen to my music and they wouldn't challenge themselves or something. It was specifically disappointed in those white audiences that wouldn't challenge themselves. Hold on, real quick. So me consistently, No Name tweeted a picture of a woman in cloud makeup. The caption read, "Me consistently creating content that is primarily consumed by a white audience who would rather shit on me than challenge their liberalism because somehow liking Lizzo's music absolves them of racist tendencies." That was her tweet.
So it's not even analogous to everything that y'all have been arguing here. Her argument is that the people that do consume it still carry their views that maybe her music is trying to challenge, right?
Kind of, yeah, but then later on...
And being disappointed in that absolutely makes sense, right?
Sure, that would make sense. But then later on, she went on to say, when she was asked in an interview later, that she just didn't want to do audiences for white people anymore. She had 2 more scheduled and she was done.
So do you think that the backlash that she feels she's getting from the white liberals who aren't understanding the message could lead to her just being like, yeah, I don't even want to make music because even the people that are listening aren't getting the point out of it that I want them to?
The problem is when you racialize everything, shit just gets so fucking weird. There's lots of artists that are misunderstood. Don't wait me. Listen, you guys, I'm sorry, fuck. I love both of you, but you guys say a lot of weird fucking shit on here, okay? I love you both, okay? But when we got shit, it's mainly it's not as much you, Gambit. It's mainly pointed at Fanatiq, okay? When you got this weird shit where we're talking about I want to make black music for black people. I only want to date black people. This is some weird ass fucking shit where we're in it's like the YouTube video of the fascist and the liberal or whatever, the same fucking person. Where it's oh yeah, I'm actually in favor of racial separatism and I think there should be black owned businesses for black people and I think black people should enjoy black music. What the fuck world am I in? I'm just saying that there's a lot of that type of arguments and shit coming out and it's just really fucking weird. Yeah, it's really fucking weird to get all of that come out totally unchallenged and it's I don't know, that's just weird shit to me.
Can you tell me what I said that was adjacent to separatism? Which part?
I think when you talked about only wanting to be with a black person or whatever.
Yeah, and then the defense of maybe some black people want to make black music just for black people and I don't know.
Okay, American Nacho, no, never did I ever say that I want this to be the thing for all black people. Hold on, never did I say I want this to be the thing for all black people. This is something I said I want specifically for myself. I've never in any capacity pushed for other people to have my opinion. So it's not black separatism. I believe in interracial people. I believe people have a choice to choose whoever the frick they want to be with. I have my choice and I'm going to do something. That's not separatism by a large margin. I'm just addressing Nacho. Hey, Destiny, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Nacho. No, I'm not. I'm talking to Nacho. Nacho said that. Nacho said I was a separatist. Nacho. I'm talking to Nacho.
I didn't make that claim. This is something that I've
very persuasive because it doesn't really turn people off to the points you're trying to make. I'm trying to give you some advice.
If the buildings were the point and you were the plane, we would still have 2 twin towers in New York today. Okay, that's
sweet burn. That's how sweet burn. 3rd degree.
I'm saying so. I understand that you're not advocating it for all of society, or that you don't tell everybody to act. I'm just saying if I heard a white person say shit yeah, I really only want to date another white person because they share my experience. But anyone else can do what they want. And yeah, man, I like the idea of white people making white music for white people and only white people. But everyone else can do it. I'm saying when I hear enough of those statements, I'm man, that's some pretty fucking weird shit, my dude. It's cool that you're not telling anyone else to do it, and I understand you just want to do it, but it's still kind of fucking weird. You're living in a heavily racialized world, my dude.
Well, that's for sure, I get it, and this is one of the craziest part about it, and it's really interesting to me because it always seems like whenever it comes to talking to our allies specifically about race, they always want to skirt that issue. And to be honest with you,
I'm not an ally.
We do. I know you're not. Trust me, I've come to that conclusion a long time ago, probably before you did. Okay. But anyways, the idea is very often that we find that we are in an extremely racialized world, and it's unfortunately for people like you with certain types of privileges that you don't have to live in that to nearly the same degree. People, you're very white passing. If people didn't know your last name, I'd have literally zero idea that you're half Cuban. Literally none. So the idea is very often you can completely ignore all racial elements in almost everything because the racial power structures the racial power structures within this country are typically geared towards supporting, helping, enabling, empowering you. So you never have to consider the racial element. For me, it's a very different thing. I have to recognize that I have to work twice as hard for certain things. I have to recognize that I have to be twice as safe when it comes to certain actions. These things are constantly decisions that I have to evaluate. You don't. So I get why you would say I sound extremely racialized because this is just a very different world than what you have to live in. And I happen to be articulating articulate enough to voice out all of these things. And I bet you probably don't. Never mind.
I'm sorry, and I'm going to make the whitest comment of the night. I think the world is far less racialized than some people act like. You know what? Like, are there challenges to different ethnic groups in the United States? For sure. But, like, when people try to make it sound like every time I see a cop, I might get fucking executed. Oh, like, come on.
Well, I think it maybe...
I know you could say that, Destiny. I'm going to respond to that.
I understand that there are issues in this world.
Wait.
But that's great. Everything you said is even wider to me, okay? Somehow.
Just a clarifying question. Did you mean like the U.S. or because you said the world?
I'm talking in the U.S. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
When I say the world is more, I mean like the world in the U.S. Like, and other parts of the world, you see some really fucked up shit, of course.
Wait, hold on. Like, we're talking about America? That's what Vash.
I fucking hate you. Okay? Like, I just think that, like, fuck, man. Sometimes it feels like people like get the victimhood cloak, and it becomes like your whole fucking identity. I understand that there are definitely challenges. There are a lot of different challenges that a lot of different groups of people face today in the United States, especially related to being black or mixed race or other ethnicities for sure. But just pump the brakes on it a little bit. God damn. Okay, we're talking about like some personal racist separatist, like personal like world. That's like some pretty crazy.
What you don't think?
I want to say something. Hold on.
Can I respond first before she does? Can I just
my God, no. Neo.
Jesus.
You want to try and say something?
She has nothing of value to say.
I'm gonna defend Fanatiq here, but I don't know why. Because you have a point.
I don't need you to defend me.
It's just not at all the same when a white person is saying, "Oh, I want to date another white person," versus another black person wanting to date another black person. My last partner of 7 years was a white man, and I'm Latina, but like it's just not the same. It's just like completely ignoring all historical context. Do I think would I advocate for that for someone? No, I think you're missing out on opportunities. But like, it's just not at all the same for fucking being like, oh, and you know what? It's interesting. I'm just gonna add, when white people want to date other white people, and that's racist, that's fucked up. But actually, we don't want to date racist white people, so let them fucking do that. Actually.
Okay, so Destiny, addressing the thing about black people complaining about possibly getting shot by police, it's really insane to me, like that you would make that statement, because like for me, I think about my experiences. Like I did not know I started driving pretty young, whatever. For the first, 5-6 years, I didn't know that it wasn't normal to be put into the backseat of a car in handcuffs whenever you were pulled over for a traffic violation. I did not know that wasn't normal, because that was my experience. I happen to be a really articulate nigga. I'm sucking myself a little bit there, but I think I have a really good command over my words. I carry myself with respect. I'm 5'8.5", bro. It's not like I'm some domineering nigga that they need to be afraid of, but they always put me in the backseat of their car in freaking handcuffs. I didn't understand that. My brother, who happens to be also as articulate as I am, every time, because we later on discovered it was because he was driving a Caprice Classic, they would literally pull him over with their guns drawn and pointed at him because they associated that car with gangsters. So literally every time he got pulled over, till eventually he got rid of the car, they would literally have their gun drawn on him while they were asking him to get his ID. My brother was a victim of police brutality. He actually experienced that. My father, one of his felonies was because of altercation with the police officers, where the officer actually initiated the initial confrontation, but he couldn't prove that, and that was one of his felonies. So when you try to say, "Oh, black people always have these fears about being whatever," these are our lived experiences, not just me, but my family members as well. So it's not something that I'm just imagining from some other people. This is something that's from our lived experience. So it's hard for me again to divorce myself from this racial world that you're talking about, because I don't have the complexion for the protection that you do. I understand why you're so apathetic to it. The reason is because it's not your experience. And I remember when I was young and I was 18 years old arguing with my mother, telling her, no, the reason why black people are getting harassed and beat up and stuff by the police is because they're doing something about it. Until I started having the experience. Then it was like, oh yeah, I guess I was wrong about that. I had no idea. I hadn't been driving very long. Sometimes I get it. I can understand why you're so ignorant about this thing. It's crazy to me that you could be so ignorant at that age and still think and think that you're arguing from a place of authority about something that you don't know anything about because you haven't experienced.
I need to inject in here just a little bit because I'm going to get a little personal here, but my daughter is actually a person of color, and we've had quite a few discussions about race in America and just general human persuasion and interaction. And I brought up the fact that not every interaction is going to be pleasant. It's just not.
Sure.
But unfortunately, you have the addition of you have to wonder, did you run into some racist in the wild? And so, yes, we do have a lot of these discussions. We do have these talks. But again, I do understand what Destiny's saying is that we might be in a bit of an overcharged, over-racialized, what's the word I'm looking for? zeitgeist in our particular culture at the moment. But yeah, these are the most important words in our country, and that's why people do get kind of worked up about it. But I even say it's like, you can choose. I mean, how do you want to go through this world? Do you want to go through with a chip on your shoulder, or do you want to rise above with your chin held high and walk through the world and you own the fucking ground you walk on?
Oh my God.
And so
it's so ridiculous.
Tell my child.
It's so ridiculous.
You know what? Sit on the fence here a little bit between Destiny and Fanatiq, because I as someone who I'm half Mexican. When I grew up, I was brown as shit. Okay, because I was always out in the sun playing soccer, whatever the fuck. I've been in those situations too, where I get pulled out of the car, I get searched every time I get pulled over. I got put in the back of a police car. This shit's happened to me too. And I guess I can understand where you're coming from. And my brothers got into a lot of fucking shit too, so maybe that didn't help, because as soon as they saw my last name, I didn't really understand the shit either, but it does seem that it's there's kind of a fucking, because of social media and everything else, there's kind of a magnifying glass on all of this shit. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that we are addressing these things and that we can talk about these things, but it's not to the extreme that when you have fucking LeBron James talking about it's open hunting season and cops are out here killing black people. Obviously that's fucking bad, and that's not true. People aren't literally just fucking pulling over people and just shooting them in their car for no fucking reason. There are mistakes that happen, there are still racists in the fucking system, and you're gonna still run into racists.
So Philando Castillo, that wasn't the
degree that some people make it out to be.
Sandra Bland, Philando Castillo, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Philando Castillo is exactly what I want. Wait.
What happens every single time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure, but that's a vacuous statement.
This is what I want to say. It's not that it's always a person that's overtly racist, right? In the Philando Castile situation, the guy was just literally afraid of black people, right? So it's not that it's this overt guy that's like, hey, I want to kill black people today. It could just be a person with just pure implicit biases that are afraid of black people. When he runs into one, the guy's like, hey, I'm going to go get my wallet you told me to get. And he shoots him and he gets off in our system. That's the unease that black people have to worry about. So when I get stopped by a police, not only do I have to understand everything that they're saying, but I have to account for what if this is one of the idiots that are just afraid of me solely because I'm black. Yeah. That's a mental strain that black people have to live with. And to just say, hey, just don't think about that, is to dismiss what could be life or death.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go that far. I don't think it's going that far.
Stop. The problem is that the same philosophy. This is a waste of time conversation, by the way. I don't understand that, but it's the same type of mentality at play when we talk about over policing in an area. As humans, we tend to exaggerate differences in things. If men are 55% of the strength in the society and women are 45%, then the way that we're grown and the way that we exaggerate those differences, it'll grow to be 80-20. Or if you see 52% crime in one neighborhood, 48% in another, you're going to send more police to the 52%. It's going to grow and grow and grow because that's what you focus on. And are there racial issues that exist in the United States? Yeah, for sure. But man, the way that some people talk about race in the U.S. today, they act like black people today are worse off than they were under fucking segregation or under slavery, not exaggerating. Or where every single police encounter is going to result in the execution of a black person, or everything is
You know what I'm about to say?
It's not.
I want you to talk to us though.
That's my point. Literally, no one here has said those things. No one here has made that statement. Okay, and hold on. And to the contrary, bro. To the contrary, you literally just went on for quite a while. Literally,
I didn't go on for quite a while. I said 2 sentences.
Okay, you're right. You're right. Yeah, for sure. I'm brain dead. Okay, so anyway, so the other person, three different people spoke who haven't gotten a chance to address. So first off, KOE Nation, making your ridiculously brain dead take. Are you gonna walk through the world with your chin held high and you can own the world in the situations that you walk through? I think this is absolutely ridiculous. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, because that's not the problem is, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about here. I'll just mute you. I'll just mute you. That's fine. So now you're muted. So the idea is, it's not about whether or not it's not about how you raise your kids. I'm not talking about how you raise your kid. What I'm talking about is that your stupid statement is completely ignoring the fact that plenty of people, we can decide to go through life as empowered as we want to. It's not like I'm using this situation as a crutch for failures or whatever. I think I'm doing quite well for myself, considering my circumstances. But the problem is that very often when we are talking about these issues, because I'm not a person that everything is racist. I don't believe that that at all, and I've never advocated for anything like that. But it sounds like whenever I'm actually talking to who I consider to be reasonable people, there's almost like a concerted effort. Everything you can do to dismiss literally every form of racism that we're talking about. So whereas you're talking about we're living in a world where there's constant racism, I'm living in a world where we have all of these random white folks telling us that racism literally doesn't exist. You got all the Republicans who claim systemic racism never exists. That's been a big portion of my platform, is literally debating Republicans on whether or not systemic racism exists. Then you got a whole bunch of other people talking about, oh yeah, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like KOE Nation here, so on and so forth. So you have all of these different people that are all making these statements that seem like they want, that sound like, yeah, I know, it's just, if they're going to keep talking over me, they want to dismiss, that sounds like, I'll just mute you too. So it sounds like they want to just dismiss, that sounds like they just want to dismiss the notion, thank you, Prime, that sound like they just want to dismiss the notion that racism even exists altogether. And every time we're talking about it, it seems like we're fighting an insane uphill battle, just trying to get you to concede something. You literally made the statement the other day, Destiny, that the war on drugs was an attack on black people. It's crazy.
Okay, but to be fair though, like we're making these statements to like a smaller audience, a smaller panel. Like I try to be careful about saying this shit, and I think Destiny does also tries to be careful so that not to feed into those people who are like, oh well, systemic racism never happened. Like and you know what I mean, like people who are further right than myself who are just gonna debate and say that there's no such thing as racism at all in America. Like
all I gotta say is maybe Destiny would have a better understanding of this stuff if he was able to listen to more black music, but unfortunately he's restricted. So I'm a peace out.
Like I wish that this was like just
and she feels like that was a gotcha. That's why you just muted. She has no value.
What?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I wish this was restricted to just like a few crazy people saying things, but like there are some like broader things that I see like go viral and people get behind it, and it just like fucking shocks me. Like that Ma'Khia Bryant shit was unfucking believable to me. The number of people that jumped up to defend this crazy fucking bitch who was trying to stab this other motherfucker to death. That shit was crazy to me. How many people were ready to jump up and like say, "Oh, this is horrible," and like, man, I don't know. I just like.
But I didn't defend that though. That wasn't me. I didn't defend Ma'Khia Bryant.
You didn't. But the conversation. I'm not here just having a one-on-one conversation with this. What we're talking about, like society at large and society in general.
No, that's the problem. Right? Now I get it. You've been holding me to all of these things that all these other idiots are talking about. I can't be held accountable for the words that come out of other morons' mouths. I would never argue that.
I'm speaking about these phenomena in general, saying, well, I personally don't do that. The conversation is not just about you.
Wait, but this is
this conversation you're having with me, where I'm talking about what's going on, me, when you start making these conversations, I get this conversation isn't just about me, I guess, but it's the idea that when we're having a conversation and I'm talking about a racial element, and then you're sitting here telling me, yeah, it sounds like everyone just wants to really just, they're living in this crazy racialized world that's not as much as that really, and you know, and all these things, it seems like, I don't understand how you would expect me, given the fact that you and I are having a conversation on this very topic, and you're apparently appealing to these vague statements made by other people that I'm not even privy to, and somehow I'm not supposed to take that personally or a reflection on what I'm talking about now.
That part of the conversation was specific about how you're saying that, like, you're defending these arguments that you can make, like, black music is just for black consumption of black people, and that you personally have this idea of you only want to date like a particular black person, and then other people, and then now societally at large, people like Neo will come out and they'll say things, oh, well, it's fundamentally different when white people do it versus when black people do it, and you know there are like elements of truth to that, but like, man, dude, you have to keep in mind that like individuals live individual lives. Like we can make statements about class, but at the end of the day, like an individual, so like that argument isn't going to fly with 99% of white people or even fucking black people, like probably like this idea that like, oh, well, now I know that black person over there is saying, you know, fuck whiteys, fuck the Mayo side, fuck all the white people. But when you say like fuck black people, that's really, really, really bad. Like no individual human being is going to be able to understand that fucking argument, right? You're talking like 4 years of fucking social studies or like some sort of arts degree in order to get them to an area where like, oh yeah, I totally can understand why all these people can say, you know, fuck the Mayos, but like I can't talk negatively of any race of people ever, right? That's like just a really hard sell for most people. And then sometimes it just feel like it gets hammed up a little bit. And you see the exaggeration of the stories. You see like Michael Brown was like an innocent kid that just got thrown around for no reason by a cop, or you see, you know, like the Ma'Khia girl got thrown around for no reason, or the Breonna Taylor was killed in her bed when she was sleeping, and like you see like all these exaggerations, all these stories, and it's like Jesus, fuck. Like people make things out. She wasn't. People make these stories
that not in her bed.
People make these stories out to be so much more extreme than they are, and then people get these weird impersonations like, well, what is it like being a black man in America? Well, let's see. When you wake up in the morning, you need to check outside very carefully, make sure some cops aren't waiting to fucking execute you. And then you need to walk down the stairs and you need to make sure your landlord doesn't know that you're black, because if so, he's going to be like systemically unfair against you and fuck you on your rent. And then when you go to work, you need to make sure that you use a white passing name, because if they know that you have a black name, they're going to fucking fire you. Like, it's like, oh my God, like, are there problems? Yeah, sure, but holy fuck, you live in the U.S. Like, it's pretty fucking good here.
Oh my God, yeah, it's crazy. I'm glad that you. Destiny finally sees everything that we're talking about.
You're so fucking crazy.
No, we're not.
You're so insane. If you take the majority of black people around the world and you were to give them an opportunity to live like in a country, I think most people would probably gravitate towards the U.S. Like, yeah, there are problems there,
but that doesn't change anything. That doesn't listen. All of these arguments that you're bringing up, like talking about, like, oh yeah, man, like we are individuals and we have individual choices. Of course, we all know this. But when we're talking about systemic racism and we're talking about systemic oppression, we obviously know that human beings choose the path of least resistance, typically. So we understand that if there's a system or if there's an oppressive force that's doing things, that it's going to affect a large amount of people. Now, individuals can make individual decisions to rise above that. We know that plenty of individuals won't. In the same argument, I don't have to go into any examples of that. You know this to be true. So when we're talking about systemic oppression, any idiot jumping into a conversation talking about what you as an individual can do is clearly missing the freaking point here, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a systemic issue, and systemic issues are going to affect you whether you not want to or not. And you can work twice or 3 times as hard to overcome them, but that doesn't change the fact that you shouldn't have to, that it's unfair, and it sounds like you're gaslighting someone when they're bringing this up, and you're constantly trying to deny it or dismiss it.
Even what you just said right there is not true, okay? Like, in the same conditions, a black person doesn't have to work fucking 3 times harder than a fucking white person.
Okay.
That is bull. They don't have to work twice as hard.
Sure.
That's fucking bullshit.
I know you don't think so.
That's fucking bullshit.
Sure.
That's fucking bullshit.
Sure.
Okay? Number 1. Number 2, I'm curious. I'm curious. Do you think that like race relations in the U.S. have gotten significantly better in the past like 60 years, like post 1964, or do you think that they're roughly the same?
Of course.
Okay, all right. Just curious.
Wait, you were really curious about that? That's why I keep saying that you're like literally strawmanning all the time.
No, I just
it's crazy.
Without assuming, that's what I'm just asking.
Why did you need to ask that? Like, you haven't had enough interactions with me to know that by now? Of course not, because you strawman me literally every time you gaslight me literally every time you get. Yeah, of course.
I'm not gonna ask a question.
Yeah, sure. You act like that's not a loaded question in the context here. Everyone can see what you're doing, Destiny. Stop. Just be real. Have a genuine conversation. Can you all right, can you get to real talk just once, bro? Let's have real talk. Real talk.
I'm not streaming. This is on your channel. I'm not even on Prime shit anymore. This shit isn't going on my fucking YouTube.
You realize you know people troll and gaslit long before streaming existed. Bro, you do gaslight hard, but
I don't think he's being that bad, Faith.
Destiny, I genuinely, like, every time, because I literally all the time when we have conversations, I try to approach them in the best faith possible, and I feel like 80% of the conversation is me trying to defend or me trying to clarify a statement, because your summation of whatever I said is something so far removed from it. And again, I am an extremely articulate nigga. I know my diction is on point, so I know that it's not an error in my speech. It's literally your inferences are always the worst.
Gambit, I'm appealing to you, okay? My brother from another mother of another color, okay? I'm appealing to you on this panel. Okay. Is it true or is it not true that a lot of people have trouble sometimes rephrasing what Fanatiq is saying? Do you not have problems on panels where you're like, well, hold on, did you say this? And you're like, no, I didn't say that. Hold on.
I'm interested for this answer. Sure. Gambit, do you feel like people have a hard time understanding what I'm saying? Oh, his mic went out. Is that? Gambit, I'm sorry.
Plug it in. Don't run from this, motherfucker.
Sure. Absolutely, yes.
Plug it back in,
Eli, you've been on like 2 panels with me ever.
With me in the middle of this shit.
I would love to hear his answer.
Damn it, Phil. Son of a bitch.
That was the first big argument that we had, was you said some shit and then it wasn't clear what you were saying, and then we had to have a conversation for like 3 hours about it.
No. Are you talking about the situation where there were literally 2 people on the panel? You were one of them, and there was one other person on the panel that said no, and then literally 7 other people. And I counted. Yes, we can. Hold on. And I counted all 7 of them. Yes, we can. And I counted all 7 of them out for you and pointed out to you. Look, these 7 people all understood it. You and one other person don't get it. You were talking about that conversation? Yeah, your comprehension is boo boo.
Oh wait, that's the way you want to phrase it. That's pretty fucking cute. But yeah, go ahead, Gambit.
It's literally what happened. Yeah, I remember.
Does it seem like
literally what happened? Gotcha.
Gambit,
we can hear you.
We can hear you.
I don't know what the hell happened, but I couldn't hear y'all. I heard Destiny say, "Yo, my brother from another mother from another color," and literally all of my sound went out.
I'm asking you.
Crash your whole computer.
Gambit, I'm asking you a question. Do you think that it is a problem sometimes that people on panels don't understand what Fanatiq is saying? They need him to rephrase it or to re-summarize his point. That something gets lost in the sauce.
I have to. I'm not doing this because Fanatiq is black. I generally listen. I generally believe Fanatiq is very on point, and people misinterpret him, and sometimes it can seem like it's intentional. Maybe there's a variable that I don't understand because we're both black.
My diction is ridiculous, nigga.
It's not even diction. I think that he's direct enough that there's not a lot of like. It's just like me. I'm pretty straightforward. If you ask me, hey, what do I believe? I'm like, these are the things that I believe. Like, and like I see Fanatiq as that same type of person. So Destiny, the thing that I will say is, we've been in multiple conversations now, right? And one of the things that I'm always saying is, hey, Destiny, we're not talking to those extreme lefties that you're talking
every
about.
time.
Destiny, we're not talking to those people that parrot anti-racism and saying it should be.
I think Destiny has PTSD, maybe.
So yeah, but this is what I want to point out. Like, so when you ask the question to Fanatiq, do I think race relations are better today than they were 60 years ago? What you're asking is, are you the extreme lefty Twitter person that you're saying you're not thinking that we are?
The problem is that, so like, I'm trying to ground out the conversation more so that I can have a better understanding of like exactly like where your points are coming from. That's the only reason I ask. When we're having conversations about any particular issues, like generally we're to some extent coming back into the broader like public sphere of how do people believe like certain like concepts ought to function, right? So for instance, earlier when we talked about the music thing or the art thing, right? That wasn't just how did we personally believe that art should be perceived. It was a broader conversation, like how do most people think that art should be perceived or distributed or whatever. Or like when we're talking about like the racial struggles of people in the US, whatever, we're not necessarily talking about your individual experiences. We're talking about like a broader conversation about it. So like a lot of it does get, maybe I could do better to like try to
correct just a little bit though. I don't think we were talking broadly about how people should consume music. We were talking about whether No Name has a right to be disappointed in how her music was being consumed.
Well, sure, that's a subset of. Yeah, sure, I understand. No. Yeah, sure. I'm not trying to say like that was a particular topic. I'm just saying it was a broad. It wasn't just how us on the panel felt. It was how like in society in general how we ought to feel, right? It wasn't just a question of like what do you think about like other people listening to music that it wasn't intended for. It was like how should it be treated publicly or whatever, right? Like what is the purpose of art? It was a more broad conversation than just our opinions.
I don't necessarily think it was. I don't construe it that way. Because Fanatiq, Fanatiq isn't No Name, but Fanatiq shares his music in prime chat with white people and black people. So obviously he's okay with white people consuming his music, right? He's not giving off anything that makes you think that he's this separatist guy with his music, right? So he's but he's only defending No Name's right to be disappointed. He's not saying that he agrees with her take. He's not saying that that's how he personally feels with his own music. He's just saying, hey, No Name on this subject was disappointed and I feel like she has a right because of XYZ reasons. But when you expand and you think that this is how Fanatiq feels about music in general, even though it's like antithetical to the way that he acts on Twitch and everywhere else, that's where I think Fanatiq is saying, I feel like you're going out of your way to ascribe something to me that I don't hold. So that would be my criticism of that.
Sure, I have no idea who this No Name is, but now I feel like I need to go listen to their music.
I guess it's just usually when we have like
collect that money.
Usually when we're doing like political conversations or like ethics or moral conversations, it's like usually these are going to like ground back into some like public sphere. Otherwise, it feels like we're not really talking like politics or ethics. We're just having like conversations about like what are our personal opinions, right? Like for instance, like if we were to ask, or maybe I just view these conversations differently, I guess. Then, like if we were to ask the question on a panel, like like should you only date a girl that's skinny, right? Like the thing that I'm thinking of, the place that my brain goes to is that like, how does that rule crafted for society look? Like, should everybody in society only date a girl that's skinny? Whereas I guess somebody else could view it as like, oh, well, personally, like, should I only date a girl that's skinny? Like, oh, yeah. And so like, I guess like the thing that's weird is it feels like sometimes you guys will answer. When I say you guys, I mean you, the two black people. When you guys, no, I mean you guys, all right. But when you when you two answer that question, it feels like you're coming at it from more of a like, should I only date skinny people? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then when you say that, I guess when I hear that, I'm here because I'm thinking of it more of like a societally like point of view. I'm thinking that you're saying like, yeah, in society we should only date skinny people, but you're like giving like a personal answer, and then we end up, I guess, missing each other on those points, maybe.
But Destiny, in all fairness, though, like I really feel like
girls need loving too.
They do, and if you ask me specifically, like, it would be one thing. It'd be one thing if like you had this belief system, but then like I wasn't here in the call with you, actively, constantly making the appeal over and over and over again. Like, hey, this is my personal take for me. Right? Or like, or you're when we're having a take about our positions and we're going out of our way sometimes to say, I believe this for me, or I believe this, or this is my experience, for you then to like compare us, or when we're having an active back and forth in a conversation and then you constantly keep making an appeal to the broader scope, it sounds like it almost seems like that has to be intentional, because there's some type of
context. So the reason why
yeah, so it's fair to say that you're influencing people though too, because you have an audience and you're on a panel.
But that's not the problem. I can influence whoever I want to, but my take is my take, and it's one thing to argue my take. It's another thing to reach for another take that hasn't even been mentioned one time in this conversation in the middle of a discussion when we're going back and forth. That becomes straw man.
Yeah. So I think the problem is, and maybe this is kind of related to the, I guess the argument that you had with Vivian that I haven't heard about the homophobia, is that it's hard to understand that somebody can have a personal take, because usually underlining any particular take you have, there's going to be some moral precept that you're generally going to apply broadly throughout society, because it's typically how people view things. So I'm going to give, I know you've never said anything, but I'll give like a really big example, right? Is somebody that says it like I enjoy killing homeless people, and for me, I think that's okay. Now, when somebody argues with you, they're not going to argue like, should you kill homeless people? They're arguing with like the general concept of like, should we kill homeless people? Because they hear that underlying moral principle. And typically 99% of people, when they think of morals, they usually apply the same morals like broadly. We think of them universally, right? So for instance, backing up with the conversation about you like only wanting to date a black person, to me, or the conversation about like, well, it can be defensible that black people might want to make black music only for other black people. Like, I think that the unconscious assumption, and maybe I should spell this out more, I guess, when I'm talking or whatever, because maybe I'm like jumping through too much in my head and I'm not like explaining where I'm at, so it comes off as confusing. But the assumption is that like you have these underlying moral values, like for instance, that you can like have like racial profiles for dating. And if you have these, you would probably defend these like universally if other people were to do it. And that's the problem. And I think that's usually what I end up like kind of aiming at or attacking. But then it feels like I'm just attacking like a universal that I guess you haven't explicitly stated. Does that make any sense?
It absolutely makes sense. The only problem I would have with it is when in these conversations, for example, in the Vivian conversation, like I very much like worked out, like explained to her like several scriptures that very clearly like explained this is a personal thing. So there's a scripture in the Bible that says, work out your own salvation in fear and trembling. That means you are going to have your own salvation that you're going to be practicing. It's not going to be the same as everyone else. I also very clearly elucidated to her on no uncertain terms, there's no justification for judging or condemning other people. This is my own personal belief about what I would practice, about how I should live. And I understand that other people do not have to live by this, and I would advocate for them to have all of the freedom to do everything that they want to do. You heard me say several times, this is my personal advocacy regarding the what I'm going to date, because this is something that is significantly important to me. Like, for example, I've always made the statement, I would never put my children in public education, because that's something that I personally don't believe in. Do I think there shouldn't be public education? Of course not. Other people don't want to sacrifice their lives and not be able to work a regular job and so that they can be home with their kids. There's things that a lot of times where they're your personal beliefs. And I feel like I do a good job of constantly explaining, these are my belief systems. Now, there's some things that we're going to be talking about in general. Do you think this is morally right for everyone or whatever? But I think in most of these conversations, when I feel like this thing is happening, I'm very clearly like elucidating this is a personal belief about what I think should happen for me.
So can I ask you, so what if somebody said, okay, hopefully you don't blow over this. What if somebody said personally, they were like, I personally just don't feel comfortable getting the vaccine?
Sure. Yeah. Like what about it?
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, like that. If you personally,
that's me.
That's a personal thing. Yeah, like
nigga, you're talking about me.
Yeah, like, why would I be a problem?
Okay. So I'm glad I asked this, because so everything makes sense now, right? So The reason why people get upset is because they assume that if you would defend that right for yourself, you would defend anybody else coming to that same conclusion on their own, which I think is right. You guys are like, oh yeah, if other people came to it, then that'd be okay. So I think what other people are doing, or I say other people, so like what somebody like Vivian would do, or somebody like me would do, is we would extrapolate that particular belief then to a wider array of people, and we would think like, is that problematic? Oh shit, it definitely would be. So we're gonna fight against that individual belief. So to go back to the, like you're talking about like gay people or whatever, I think where Vivian's mind would go, or my mind would go, it's like, okay, well, let's say that like a majority of, evangelicals in the United States had the same ideology about gay people, it would probably be really bad. It would probably result in a lot of homophobia.
No. So no, that's wrong.
There's people that they won't prescribe that view to others.
Right.
It's their own personal
and it's mentioned
salvation that they're worried about. That's literally why there are a lot of Christians that are like, yo, I support gay marriage because I don't feel like the government should be involved in marriage, and I don't engage in homosexual acts, but that doesn't mean that I believe that people should be restricted from their freedom just because my own personal life is not to live that way.
Yeah, but this is a numbers game. If you take 1 million people and you give them this like scripture-based belief that being gay is like a sin or whatever, then there's going to be a greater percentage of them that are against gay rights than like
no. So this is where the problem comes.
You want to look at polling data?
No. Hold on. Let me finish. Let me explain really quickly because you're doing this broader thing again, which is just wrong again. Because in my beliefs, you're doing this thing where you're like extrapolating, like you said you were doing. You were extrapolating the belief to everyone else, and you can't extrapolate everyone else's belief to my belief to everyone else. Yes. Because if you did so, then the polling data would overwhelmingly show support for same-sex marriage. Because in that conversation, I very clearly stated, I 100% believe in everyone's liberty. I don't believe everyone has to be a Christian. And I don't believe that there are any injunctions in the Bible to legislate your biblical beliefs at all. It's an individual belief system. So I absolutely believe everyone else who doesn't want to believe as a Christian has a right to live as freely as they want to. I think there's a very obvious difference between deontological belief and utilitarian belief and result-oriented teleological beliefs. All of those things are totally different things. So for me, deontologically, I absolutely believe that this is a sin. This is something that I can't practice. But again, not everyone has to live the way that I do. And if they choose to live in the life that they choose to, I absolutely support that because I want everyone to have the freedom. I believe free will is literally a fundamental right bestowed by God. So of course I absolutely believe everyone has the right to do that. So no, this wouldn't be a problem that way. If you actually were there for the conversation, Destiny, it was very painfully obvious that all Vivian was doing was just ad homing. And she said, I bring it up all the time. I don't. Today was the first time that I brought it up. But every other time we'll be in the middle of a debate. I will absolutely slap her in the debate. She completely gets destroyed. And then she just randomly, it's literally having nothing to do with homophobia. We'll just say, well, you're a homophobe anyway. And it's like, okay, nigga, how?
Why can't a certified non-racist white person then say that they can say the N-word?
Wait, what?
Why can't a certified
that escalated quickly.
Let's say a guy super not racist. It's like, okay, I think I should be able to say the N-word. Why should he be able to do it then? If he says, well, in my belief system, I don't have any of these other negative beliefs about black people. In my belief system, I wouldn't do anything bad. I would never discriminate. I would never blah, blah, blah. Like, why? You
can answer, Gambit, and I'll follow up.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So your use of the N-word is dependent upon how other people receive it, right? There was a white guy that was like 70 years old in Florida last week that was saying the N-word to a guy, and he got punched in the face and he died, right? So you can say anything, but there can be consequences, right? Pivot. So what I'm gonna say is,
derail.
Like the people that are gonna listen to you and they're hurt and how they view these things, successful derail, it can have like bad consequences, and that's why I would advocate that white people don't say the N-word.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Because I know that
they should have those same bad consequences. If you've got like a congregation full of people with a pastor that's saying, he might be very careful. He might say, we don't discriminate against gay people. We love gay people, blah, blah, blah. But it's a sin. And if you fuck another guy, you're going straight to fucking hell. One way ticket to hell. You don't think that could have this similar types of bad effects?
I think if people adopt the mentality that Fanatiq and I adopt, where you aren't worried about others and you're worried about your own.
But that's not how that works. Why can't I say that then for my thing? If it's only non-racist white people, in that case, you would know that the only people that say the N-word are white.
You're saying you're going to say it amongst black people, right?
Right.
I don't know. I'm not saying me. Whoa. Don't make it about me. This is a non-racist white person. I'm very racist, okay? Don't make this about me, okay? I'm saying for a hypothetical white person that isn't racist, okay? I'm just saying that, like, now you want to go to, like, well, what are the effects in society? Like, how is it going to
that was a bad argument. That was a bad answer.
You're evaluating it differently now.
That's a bad answer. So the answer would actually be, if we had some way of being able to know know for sure that a person like didn't have those racist views. Like there was a card we could flip on, like because obviously you've heard like the phrase like N-word pass. There are plenty of black people who feel comfortable with specific white people using the N-word around them. Like there are times where we would make the argument this person is not racist, such that I personally don't care about that person saying it around me. Now, of course, that doesn't give them license to use it unequivocally. I mean, like like unchecked with all other black people. But for me, I let that white person call me the N-word because I don't have a problem with it. That's where you would be able to make those distinctions. Now, I probably don't pass out. I don't give out a lot of N-word passes because it's been used inappropriately quite a few times. But at the end of the day, that's a thing that's a stance that a person can make. Like, yeah, that wouldn't necessarily be a problem.
And I should clear something up because chat was asking me a question. Yeah, in no way do I condone people like punching people to kill them if they're racist. I'm not saying that I condone that. What I'm saying is that there are some people who take these things far differently than others. So just like what Fanatiq is saying, how some people give out like N-word passes, there are some people that are hardcore, like no white person can get a pass regardless.
And those people to stop it from happening.
Can react crazily, and I just want people to understand that that's in the reality. But I do want to let you respond to Fanatiq. But like chat, like I felt like I should address that because like I don't want people to get the wrong take.
Yeah, I guess we just have a fundamental disagreement on like the kind of like core beliefs that people can hold. Like I would think that like if somebody can hold like a certain type of belief, ideally that belief should be able to be made ubiquitous throughout society and not have like negative impacts stem from that belief.
Okay, perfect. But okay. Destiny, that's exactly the point. Because what the thing is that keeps happening is you're associating, you're doing a guilt by association fallacy where you're saying, well,
please don't use the word fallacy.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. You never do fallacies whatsoever. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
That I just said was a fallacy.
Okay, you're right. It wasn't a fallacy. I'm sorry. So the error in the way that you said that was that basically you're making this association with the idea that someone believing this has to have these other beliefs, these other harmful beliefs with it. But I sat there being grilled by these people. Literally, it got so much to the point that Vivian was like, she was like saying, well, if a gay person came to you and they told you they were gay, you wouldn't, like, how would you respond to them? And I'm like, well, I would tell them, okay, well, that's your life. I hope you're happy. I think you should, seek love and pursue happiness. And that's like your ultimate goal. That's all I can give you. Like, I wish you the best in life, like whatever. And she's like, no, that's not enough. You have to say, and I swear as God is my witness, it's still recorded. You have to say, well, that's good. I want you to be gay and you should be as gay as you possibly can. And I'm like, what the freak is this? This is getting so ridiculous now. We're past whether or not I'm tolerant, whether or not I'm loving, whether or not I would treat them any differently. Now we're going to, you have to say this specific phrase of affirmation to a gay person.
Cringe.
That's ridiculous.
That is, I agree, that's ridiculous and that's cringe. However, your core belief that being gay is a sin, I would consider that to be a net negative on society, and a belief like that is just bad. It just shouldn't exist in our society. So if somebody tells me they have that belief, I'm always going to, now, I don't know if
what's the bad from it?
I'd say that's in St. John's Gospel, though.
The bad from it is that if all of society held that belief, the only thing that could possibly do is make life worse for some types of people in society. So then because not everybody that has that particular belief.
Wait, Destiny. Wait, hold up. Gambit, let him finish so I can respond really quick because he said something to my belief. Go ahead, Destiny, finish.
Yeah, if everybody in society held that belief that gay is bad, or not bad, but homosexuality is a sin, that would invariably come out in other ways. They're not all going to be carbon copies of you, but just holding that one core belief propagating throughout society would be bad for gay people in society.
Okay, so then, but that's where the problem is. And that's that association thing again. Because it's not just the belief that it's a sin that would be bad. It would be some other belief, right? That I don't necessarily have. So if everyone had my belief system, then they would love and support gay people and feel like they need every right that everyone else does. They would not be harming gay people. They would go out of their way to be advocates for gay people, and so on and so forth. So then it wouldn't be a problem in society. It would only be a problem in society if they held a portion of my belief without all of the other portions of my belief, right? So if they had I think gay is a sin, but also had the belief that I have a right to legislate against it, or I believe gay is a sin and I also have a right to judge people and condemn people, or if they had all of these other beliefs attached to it, it wouldn't just be the belief that gay is a sin, because any person believing it's a sin, it would only again, this is that like guilt by association thing. That's not fair.
It's not guilt by association, but I mean, if you want to call it that to feel better for the argument, you can do that. That's fine.
Well, are you not saying that this would be a belief that that's not in isolation a problem, but it would be a problem because it would carry with it other beliefs that might tangentially agree with it, or that might correlate
and
with
those
it?
Beliefs, they would stem from that. Like it would happen. Like it's undoubtable. Like There's
it would only
nothing
happen
bad.
if you don't have our entire belief system, though.
Yeah, but that's the issue is that not everybody will.
Oh, I get you, and I get you, and your Destiny, you're 100% right. Not everyone's going to have my belief system. So then, at that point, that's why it's not my job to go teach that belief system to other people. That's why I also it's a personal thing.
When we craft like moral rules for society, ideally we don't allow things like that to exist. Like that would be the goal. So for instance, there's nothing bad about running near a pool. Plenty of people can do it and not get hurt. However, if we let everybody run near pools, some people are going to slip and crack their head open. So we make the rule: don't run near pools, right? Like, there are probably some.
That's not the same thing, Destiny.
Wait, Destiny. The analogy that you're using is what a lot of homophobic people use, right? They say, "Hey, if you shouldn't be homophobic because if everybody became homophobic, it'd be like antinatalist, right? And there wouldn't be more babies. Like it's silly, right? You can't make those type of analogies. Like saying that if I take your view and I put it on everybody, and this isn't even me and Fanatiq's view, that it could be bad for people is silly. Like this analogy isn't like this isn't a real analogy to our views.
Reverse that logic from the N-word, right? Like there are beliefs that you hold, right? That I could say if everyone believed this, there are some people who are going to take this to different extremes to mean really ridiculous things, right? Like
and that's the frustrating part is that people, I think, like you, have actually made those exact arguments.
Name one example.
Oh, like yeah. So I don't. You're gonna fucking hate me. I feel like you've made this argument to me in the past. Maybe you haven't, so you can scream at me for stereotyping you. But people will make the argument that if in private you use edgy or racial humor, that will come out in other ways in your life, or it will cause you to like harbor some like resentment or make some bad like stereotypes or jokes towards other people, and that will like just come out, and that you can't like restrict just some personal part of your life to using like certain, like we'll say racial slurs or racial humor. Like that is an argument that I've heard time and time again.
I'm never going to get angry. I'm not going to get angry at this, but I just want you to understand. I have literally never ever spoken poorly about your private usage of the N-word for edgy jokes.
Okay, also, and I don't use that. I really don't.
Okay, I got you. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Private jokes, edgy jokes, right? Like I've never in any way, shape, or form complained about that. I think we have extremely similar forms of humor. I love edgy stuff, so I say pretty ridiculous things. Like I've done it quite a bit, so I would never ever attack you on that.
No, I feel like we've argued in the past a lot about white people saying like the soft A or rapping or whatever. Didn't we? We
did have an argument about that, but that had nothing to do with because it was going to be tangentially attached to other forms of racism. That wasn't the.
What was your argument against that?
My argument was that I would feel that people have the right to use a word positively if they choose to as a euphemism, but the individuals who happen to have used the word as a euphemism have a right to feel some type of way if the typical people who had used it negatively are trying to use it as a euphemism too. And I think there's a culture of shared oppression that allows...
Yeah, would they have a right to tell the other group of people that they're not allowed to? So the white people that they can't use that racial slur, they shouldn't be allowed?
Absolutely, and we do it all the time. And I think I went into the example and I explained to you very clearly that like in Hispanic culture, Neil Gaia, you might know this. I don't know if this was in your family, or Nacho might as well. In Hispanic culture, it's very common for someone to call like maybe the youngest kid or just one of the kids in the family, they'll call him gordo, and it means fatty, right? But they will do that, and it's like a really common thing. And for that family to call that person fatty is a term of endearment. And he might be a bit overweight, but it's fine. If that family
even like husband and wife do it a lot too.
Right. But if someone outside of that family was to say that, right, if someone outside of the family was to say that, you would not offer that or extend to that person the presumption that this is coming from a place of love or euphemism. It's just you don't automatically have that presumption, so it becomes a little bit more cantankerous. And that's the difference. And that's the same way with the N-word.
I think that's a little... I don't know if that analogy fits. I don't want to get into this argument.
It's literally perfect. Which part is disanalogous?
Well, because like, for instance, like it's really common in a family for a little boy and a little girl to call mommy and daddy. But if I walked up to like a mom and I was like, what's up, mommy? Like it would be like really fucking weird or creepy.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a perfect analogy. Yes. That's perfect.
Yeah, but I think that when we talk about like racial slurs or whatever, it's a little different because it's not like a specific term of endearment used like intra-family. Like it's like a wider cultural thing that some people can use and other people can't use in the exact same way, and it's just like a different.
Oh no. See, okay, so what you just did was okay. So the analogy really does hold up perfectly, right? And it's analogy.
Wait. For that analogy to hold up perfectly, it would have to make it so that if white people in a white family couldn't call their youngest child like Guerrero or whatever you said. That would have to be to make it perfect.
No, okay, so wait, hold on really quickly. Look, it's really simple. Yeah. The reason why the analogy works perfectly, and by the way, if a white person wanted to call their kid gordo, they could do so. And
so then a white person should be able to
no, they shouldn't. They shouldn't because gordo isn't a racial slur. So that's why this wouldn't work there. So that's where the word hold on. No, let me explain to you. Because what you just did was you literally said it didn't apply because then at that point, you keep interjecting, I keep forgetting. But it was basically this point, right? The way the analogy holds up is because in the same way that in the family, right? This is as in one unit that has some sort of shared presumption of kindredness, right? Like that's the analogy. Shared presumption of kindredness gives someone the presumption that you wouldn't be using this in a harmful way. Within the black race, you have this shared presumption of kindredness that this racial slur is something that you could be using in a kindred way. A better example, if you need it, then if we get rid of the word gordo, my brothers and I, we constantly make your mama jokes. So my brother, I will say something like smart to my brother, and he'll respond to me, your mama. I have no problem with him saying your mama to me. I know he loves my mother, so I know that he doesn't actually mean it, and he's not meaning it to be demeaning or to be harmful. But if someone else was to say your mama, now it's like, I don't know, it ain't hitting the same. That's a perfect analogy.
Saying yo mama to other people, we're talking about saying like in black families, it's okay to use a yo mama joke to their moms, but white families can't use the yo mama joke. That would make the analogy fit, right?
So the difference between these two is one of these. It's about the issue. I'm sorry. The issue is whatever.
Could two white guys call themselves like my ninja? Like, could they say that, or would that be not good?
It would not be good, and the reason is because that's why I got you. So let me explain to you. So the thing is within the analogy, it's whatever the unit is based around is where the presumption goes. So in my case, our presumption is around family. Now you wouldn't extend this to race and say so any black person can say your mama jokes to you. No, they cannot. Within our kindred group, people who are kindred to my family now have this ability to make these family-related jokes and us to give a presumption of a pass that you're not meaning it negatively. So then you can extend this now to a racial element. Within our race, it's very fair for us to be able to make these jokes. You can extend it to the country. I feel comfortable for someone within our country criticizing America who has the kindredness of being American. Now, someone outside of my country does it. Now I feel some type of way. I feel less likely to be okay with that. Or people at my school. At my school, you can challenge the school. We go to the same school together. You automatically get a pass. If someone outside of my school does that, now we got a problem. Within my state, so on and so forth.
It's still okay. Maybe we're just.
No, the analogy holds up. If you don't see it, then that's crazy.
It's analogous because you're talking about limiting what one person says to another without the presence of those other people even existing. And every example that you've given so far, it's required an out-group person to go to that in-group and try to make a joke that wouldn't fit. But when we talk about like racial slurs, these are usually in such a special category that even if you're not related to the scenario, you shouldn't make them. So like what you for your analogy to fit, it would have to be like a white person with a black person and then using the N-word. But these racial slurs are so special that like even a white person can't say to another white person the slur. The reason why this breaks the analogy is because for like the yo mama jokes or whatever, right? So one guy can say it to another guy, and if they're all in the same family, it's okay. And it would be bad if somebody from an outside family were to go to that family and say it. However, we're trying to make this rule where it's like even the other family can't make yo mama jokes about their own mom because that's only for this type of family, right? That's why it doesn't work. It's because even unrelated to the groups, they can't use those things in their own groups. It's still bad. Unless you think it's okay.
No, the other groups, see, the analogy would work. So in the other groups, to keep the analogies consistent, if white people and their family, or if other families, right, and if other family wanted to say your mama about their mama, they could do that. Mm-hmm. So if white people wanted to make racial jokes about white people, they could do that. So in this group, in this conversation, the black people in the group are making, the family are making jokes kindred to their family with the presumption, and other people with their family can make jokes to their family with the presumption. They can't make jokes about another family with the presumption.
So then would it not be then okay if a white family called their youngest child I forgot what the word was.
A gordo? Yeah, I told you. Yes, because it's not a racial slur. Yeah, it'd be fine.
Okay,
I gotta know.
I don't think this works at all. But
Fanatiq, I gotta know. Bro. What's your favorite yo mama joke? I gotta know.
Your mama's so stupid she married your daddy. It's a 2 for 1.
I like, yo mama's so fat when God said let there be light, he had to say, get your fat ass out of the way.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
What city do you live in, Koei?
Oh, out in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm in a little village of about 340 people, about 2.5 hours west of Omaha. I'm a 5th generation Nebraska farmer, and we're still farming on the same plot my great grandfather homesteaded in the year 1920. So we've been going strong for that long, anywho.
Oh shit! So I'm guessing are you pretty close to Grand Island?
God damn, you do know Nebraska pretty well. Yeah. I'm about 40-minute drive from Hastings. So yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I remember that I lived in Omaha for like 30 years, but I think I drove out to, it was either Grand Island or a little bit west of it. Remember, for the solar eclipse a few years ago.
Oh, dude, yeah, that passed right over my property. So yeah, it was awesome. I just got to. It
might have even been in Hastings that where you were supposed to drive. I don't remember. There was like an exact path, and it was close to Grand Island because you drove out west. Yeah.
Yep, the path literally passed over one of my dad's fields, and so fuck yeah, we just parked there and watched it, and yeah, it was amazing. It was, but yeah, so you lived in, like I said, you lived in Nebraska for 30 years. Like I've heard you a couple of times. Every time you say something I agree with, I'm always like, well, that's got to be the Nebraska talking. Surely, it's got to be.
Wait, we're both happy y'all are from Nebraska and y'all have such this Nebraskan love. But yeah, what's up? What are we talking about?
Our unrequited love of Nebraska and the Ogallala aquifer that feeds it. Yes.
Okay, I only stayed here long enough so that Vosh couldn't say I was here only for him. So I need to.
I figure. Hey, Destiny, hold on. Destiny, really quick before you go, Destiny. If Vosh was willing to like kind of mend this bridge, would you be willing to do it?
Oh God.
Be honest.
He's the one that has the grudge. I don't care.
You don't have any grudge at all.
I don't have a grudge against anybody. I'm not a grudge kind of person. I just don't give a fuck enough. The problem that happened with Vosh is that in 2021, I committed myself to being more rhetorically effective. I know it doesn't seem like on these panels because you just come here to scream to let off some steam at night.
For sure.
But the last conversation we had was the first conversation I think where he looked bad. Because usually when we talk, I feel like my arguments are good, but I'll own any fucking analogy. Like if you ask me some crazy fucking question, like if I could put the soul of a 1,000-year-old person into a 5-year-old's body, could they have? I'd be like, oh sure, fuck it, right? I would just answer yes and own hypothetically because I don't give a fuck. But now I try to be more like, well, that's not realistic, so blah, blah, blah. So I try to be more rhetorically effective. And the last conversation we had, he looked really bad. And I think that fucked with his head a lot. And so after that, he was like, I'm never talking to Destiny again. And I think that's why
you're admitting
tonight he was like really, really, really pissed when I jumped on you.
Yeah, for sure.
No, so what
Destiny, DM that to me.
I am not impressed by your performance, Vosh.
What Destiny is admitting is he saw that I was taking Vosh to task for like the inflammatory, baseless statements
that
he was
is
making.
definitely not.
So he jumped in so he could get the score. That's what he just said.
Hey, Destiny, Destiny, DM me that argument. I need to see it. Hey, also, I'm gonna send you this thing, Destiny. It's really amazing. You got to do it with your stream. It's really beautiful. I created this thing for debates, for one-on-one debates. It's called Idiot Bingo. Okay, it's really amazing. Awesome. It has all of their. I'm gonna link you to. I'm gonna link you to panel Idiot Bingo. It's really amazing. You can keep up with it, and it'll randomly generate a card, and then you can look at it, and then when people do these things, which are really, really common in debates, then yeah, you get to you know, it just makes it way more fun for your audience. I think you should share it with them. I think it's really, really amazing. Okay, I'm DMing it.
By the way, Fanatiq, I think your mod is like really upset at you for saying that you created that.
Oh no, there's no way. I literally created it. That's stupid.
If we could like put you in a situation to mend your relationship with Vosh,
that'd be awesome.
Like, would you like that? Because you said you don't have the problem.
I don't care, but that's not going to happen. He's not going to want to do it.
I was about to say that seems like a rather one-sided request. Like I don't know if that'll be reciprocated, but
I will argue or talk to almost anyone, say for like the more crazy conspiracy theorists. But so yeah, so he's won it.
Hey, Destiny, link me that debate. Link me that debate that you have with Vosh. I need to see that one. We're gonna go over it. Hey, not me and you and I, but me and my stream.
Could you do me a favor? Because I know you're super busy. Could you just check your DMs? I'll send you like another message so it shows up at the top. And
for me?
I sent you an idea. Yeah, I sent you an idea like a while back, and I just don't know how you feel about that. So.
Oh, hey, real quick, Fanatiq, did Eris ever send you those vocals?
She did not. I created the freaking. I created the piano thing for her all the time.
But yeah, thanks, man.
What was that, Fanatiq? I didn't hear you.
I created it. She didn't sing to it. What's up?
Fanatiq, okay, I'll go yell at her. You never went over Destiny and Vosh's interview.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to do that one. Yeah, I'm down. And especially with Idiot Bingo on top of it, let's do it. Oh my god, that'll be the best thing ever. Let's do it tomorrow.
Let's do it.
You really do see all those things in all the panels.
It'll have to be super late. It'll have to be after 10 o'clock. But yeah.
Okay, I'm up all the time. Especially if I'm reviewing a debate. That's Destiny, you saved my life. You have no idea how many times. I used to watch literally all your debates because I used to do a lot of driving at nighttime, and I think I have like sickle cell, so I fall asleep like all the time easily. But when I'm listening to debates, like it keeps me awake because it like gets my brain going. And I used to listen to exclusively your content anytime I got behind the wheel at nighttime because I knew it would keep me awake.
Is this why I fall asleep while driving? You have sickle cell trait?
Yeah.
Not you don't have like the full thing. You just have trait.
I have the trait. I think I'm not positive, but I think so.
Dude, I do, and I fall asleep while driving. And I do like the same shit. I have to listen to something that's like mentally stimulating.
That's it. Do debates, Destiny debates. I got so many arguments, bro. I'm seriously a big fan. I hope you're not pissed. I was yelling today, but I really do appreciate you, fam.
Yo, listen. When I first started Twitch, he was like, "Yo, you don't know Destiny? Yo, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you got to learn who Destiny is." He has like great debates. This is literally my introduction.
For sure.
So he literally has said like good things about you for sure, and I have too. But that's why I try to hold you and Vosh more into account because I'm like, wait, I know y'all are intelligent. You can't say shit like the entire Republican Party is fascist, Vosh. Like that's silly. Like that's what a uber leftist would say. You're not that person, right? So. That's why I hold y'all. Like when you say the war on drugs is not racist, like that's why I have to hold y'all to that.
There are definitely racial aspects. I don't like the every policy is so complicated, and the thing that pisses me off is that just here's my biggest problem. Okay, when you have a one-dimensional analysis of things, it makes the problem seem unsolved.
It's not one.
What?
It's not one-dimensional.
Okay,
we can say it's multifaceted, but we can say racism is a large, most pervasive component of it, right?
Yeah, I guess, but that's the only thing that anybody ever wants to talk about, and then we miss like where other stuff comes from. Like, and that's like
so. You know what you say? Say this. You can say, wait. Say yes, it's racist.
And there's another component. That's it. Then we wouldn't. There would be no argument, bro. There would be no argument.
Yeah, the problem is the way. And now I'm not gonna piss you off because you're gonna say, "Well, we don't do this," and that's fine. You don't do this. But the problem is that when people phrase it in this way, that's typically the only aspect that they want to talk about, and it's so severe that if I were to enter a conversation with somebody, oh fuck, I just almost super triggered myself. Oh my god. Wait, Fanatiq, hold on. Your fire alarm is going off. Can you go check it real quick?
Oh God, what is it, bro? Just say it. Okay. Just say it. I don't get
what I'm going to say is that, like, if I get into a debate with somebody and we start arguing about the differences between why they charge differently between like crack and powder cocaine, if I even have a conversation starting about the differences between how these drugs affect neighborhoods of people are going to lose their fucking mind. And it's going to be like, it was racism. People won't even entertain the other concepts. Or they'll feel like you're like sidetracking or you're ignoring what's really happening, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, fuck, like there's so many reasons why, like we do. And even racism itself is experienced in like a really multifaceted way, such that like some of it is really easy to get rid of. Some of it can be really hard to get rid of. Fuck, for a lot of people, believe it or not, for a lot of people, the easiest way to make them not racist is to just actually fucking put them in front of people that are different than them and have them have experiences with 100%. It. And then some of that shit will go away.
I agree.
But like, yeah.
Destiny, look.
That's why I support Fanatiq finding white wives, right?
Ooh, I'm saying so. Somebody has to reach those cervixes. Look, Destiny, here's the deal. Destiny. I feel like it sure is, especially with married white wives. But I think if you and I were to have literally just one unqualified conversation where it's like, hey, we're talking. We're gonna approach it with the most best faith possible. I feel like we would get really far in them, but I feel like very often there's this baggage because you've talked to so many idiots all the time that you automatically assume that I'm trying to get you, and it's like I feel like 30% of the conversations be like, "Yo, Destiny, I'm not trying to get you here. Like I'm not. This isn't a gotcha. I'm really trying to ask this in good faith."
I think that there's very different modes for very different types of conversations. So if I'm talking to on a panel, like our conversations are going to be very public focused. It's not going to be like a personal one-on-one. Like if you come on my stream and we chat, this is usually why if you come on afterwards, sometimes we can clear things up. It's because because now it's a one-on-one conversation and I'm not as much talking like in generalities because
unless you're playing league though.
Yeah, not listening. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be not listening to you playing League.
No, bro, my nigga, you were upset. The second I got in there, he was like, yeah, what is it, nigga? I was like, dang.
Because that conversation was the closest I've ever come to actually fucking killing myself in a video game. Are we still? Are you stream live?
I'm live.
In a video game, I mean. Oh my god! But anyway, okay.
They're pharmacologically the same, Destiny. Like
no, I hate all of you, everyone in here.